Somebody might ask, Al, what is the absolute most important part of communication? And I would find it difficult to give you that answer. I could try to sound smart and say, it's probably listening. And for some people, they would agree. And I could say it is focusing on the person, not yourself, the person you're communicating with. And then there would be others that would say, absolutely, that is correct. Then I might say it is releasing my own agenda so that I can listen to understand and not to reply, and that I can focus on the other person. And then there would be others that would say, that's it. That's got to be the most important part to communication. Then I might say it is body language. And then there would be yet others that would say, absolutely, it is body language. That is the most important part to communication. And I might also suggest that tonality has a lot to do with it. And then there would yet be another group that would say, that is for sure. Tonality does more in communication than the words themselves. And you know, all of those people are right in their own right. So what we're going to strive to do in the podcast of communication is touch a number of different things, but possibly not all in one call. We're going to strive to do a series. Whether or not we will have another part of communication series tomorrow or not, I'm not sure when the next part of the series of communication will come out. So we strive to bring communication, good communication, in all of our trainings. Obviously, it is communication training happens in first and second level training, at a different segment of it at the third level training, but also to the sales trainings. We also bring communication strategies into sales trainings. Possibly not so much, but yet I guess in the sales trainings it is all about communication. But then again, we also touch multiple different elements. This morning I'm communicating basically the different elements of communication where they're taught at in our facilities and the absolute importance of communication. With that being said, let's take a look. First, in communication, find yourself. To know yourself, to be yourself to improve yourself. But if you notice how we started out is first find yourself. And if you've noticed, for those of you that have been to our first and second level, you understand that one of the first key elements that we do is strive to help people discover where they are at the moment, so that once we discover where we are in the desert, we can then use the tools given to us to move beyond. And this is a very important key component, is to discover where we are in our communication skills. So as you start analyzing yourself, you'll recognize your communication skills are either very good, maybe you have great listening skills, but lesser in releasing your agenda while you're talking to people. Maybe it's all about what you want and your communication falls flat there. Or maybe you have the ability to make it all about the person you're communicating with, but you have a problem with listening skills. And I know this one gentleman that is so incredibly good at communicating from in front of the room. He is just gifted in every aspect of it. But he admitted a while back, he goes, you know, where I fall flat on my face is my listening skills. I just don't take the time to listen to people. And I know that to be true about him. But the good news is he has enough self-awareness now that he's aware of it, and he's striving to work through that. And I'm grateful to be able to support him in overcoming his scarcity in listening skills. This morning is not so much diving into any particular element of communication, but rather pulling communication apart so we can view it from different aspects. Viewing it from the aspect of listening, viewing it from the aspect of verbal communication, and viewing it from the aspect of tonality, and the list goes on, body language. There's just so much to communication that is more than the words themselves. And communication begins with knowing why you want to communicate and what is your purpose of communicating. You know, many of us communicate just to be heard, and please forgive me for using the word us. I don't like to be put into that scenario. It is not a good scenario to be put into. But what I do want to follow up with and saying is, whether I like it or don't like it, there is a truth to that statement, that many find themselves communicating for the sake of communicating versus why is it that we're communicating? What is it that we're wanting to say? What's the importance into what we're saying? How will life be how will the world be a better place because of me communicating? Who am I communicating with, and how will they be able to receive what I am communicating? Now, of course, I do not get to determine how people receive every word that I say, because every person will make it mean something uniquely different. I'll promise and guarantee you so far this morning on this podcast, there's been people that have received what I've said in a sense of gratitude. It meant a lot to them. This was incredible. This was amazing. Then there's others that are questioning it. And then there's others on this call that are already analyzing their own life and deciding how this is applicable to their life and how does this influence or impact them in their communication. And there's others that are already giving some intellectual nods like, yeah, that's true. I find myself at times not listening, or I find myself at times being focused on me when I'm talking, and I find myself at times holding my own agenda, and I find myself at times not paying attention to the body language coming from the other person. I find myself at times not paying attention to my own tonality. Therefore, my communication isn't at an excellent version. You see, communication is something that is very special to all of us and very precious. We must all communicate. We cannot go through this life without communicating. But many of us just communicate to communicate. We don't even try to build our communication skills. Why is that? Well, why is that important? If I don't like you, then I'm going to tell you, no, that's not true. I'm not going to do that. I'll be quite frank. And let's take it a step further. There's very few people, if any, that I don't like. Now, some people I don't like their habits, their language, how they communicate, and the fact that they don't want to change when they're confronted with something that could support them. I may not appreciate that, and so I might distance myself from people. But there's nobody that I really just thoroughly dislike. And I'm not trying to say this to be all goody two-shoes and better than everybody else, not at all. It's just that's the lifestyle I have chosen. It doesn't serve me to go walk around disliking people. Now, it does serve me to disconnect myself from people that do not desire to grow themselves, that are so self-righteous and have all the answers and are so right about everything that they believe that they don't have the time to view something from a different aspect. That can be challenging as well. But communication is the most vital thing that any of us can have when working with people. But do you realize how many people that never take class 1 to build their communication? Now, they might go to many, many trainings for different aspects and elements of life and completely miss communication. Or they might take some level of communication but never a serious depth into communication in the different elements and the different laws of communication to improve their communication. So with that being said, this morning is really just to introduce you. And Craig, I apologize that we're not diving into depth of any particular element of communication, but rather I want to sell you on the idea of how important communication is and that there's multiple aspects of communication, and that once we are responsive to all parts of communication, we can actually start to improve ourselves. Improvement cannot come when we are unaware that we have a problem. And that hurt smashed all of my toes, because I appreciate it. Once in a while, there's somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, listen, I really think you're coming off the charts here," or "I think you might be doing something that you're unaware that you're doing." And I appreciate that, because improvement can only come when I'm aware of something that I'm doing that is inappropriate or hurtful to people. And that I take very, very seriously. So I appreciate support, but that tells me where I'm at. It tells me where at in the desert that I am and what I get to change. And I challenge that for every person on here. I'm going to challenge you to take communication seriously. Warren Buffett, the best investor of all time, said if people improve their communication skills, they will improve their net worth by 50%. Some people want to be effective in helping others change their ways, but they don't want to be effective in changing their communication skills. Had an individual tell me once, I'm looking forward to hitting a leadership position because I can tell people what to do. I said, yes, sir, and hopped off the phone. Didn't tell him what I was actually thinking. And what I was thinking is, until you realize that you can't be telling people what to do, but you get to lead them, you're going to struggle, because telling people what to do sounds like a fun thing to do. And of course, most bosses love that. People that are self-righteous love that. You know, the person that, let's not go there. Anyway, with that being said, communication, it will help you lead, will help people see their blind spots that they were unaware that they had. There's nobody on this planet so good and so right that they don't have blind spots, let me be clear. And there's nobody so good and so perfect and so right that they couldn't improve their communication skills to some degree. With that being said, I want to inspire you to grow and develop yourself in your communication skills. It will serve you both at home, in public, in communities, in cities, board meetings, meeting with the mayor, the list goes on, politicians, whatever it might be. Communication is an incredibly important element. We will continue working through communication elements of it, the laws of communication, and unpack them one at a time as we do this. I'm not quite sure when we will get through all of them, but there's many laws of communication. And I'm actually working on a book concerning just that. Our book that talks on the blind spots and personal development is going to be out real soon, so we're excited to bring that to the people. But then the next one will probably be the one, not sure which one's coming out next, but probably around communication, the laws of communication. We're excited to do that. But we're also, in the meantime, going to give you other books to indulge in to help grow yourself in communication skills. And so with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all for joining us today, and can ask you to do me a favor and not settle for less than who you are. May God bless you.